So I have titled this video The Truth About Cut Resistant Gloves because I've used these for quite a while now, and they have some pros and cons. And if you're going to get a pair of these, you don't just want to jump in and not sort of know how they work and what their strengths are and their weaknesses. If you've seen some demonstrations about these, you've seen some ads, maybe some YouTube videos, reviews on Amazon, you've probably seen a lot of this kind of thing. People holding a blade and cutting with it or attempting to cut their hand with it, and it's true. They are pretty amazing in that respect. This is a new Condor knife. This is a sharp Condor knife, tactical knife, bushcraft knife. It's a good knife. It's not a dull knife. Yes, you can do this with these gloves, and you can actually pull through and you're fine. But how many times do you need to do this? Not many. Once in a while you may need to grab a blade, but really these are more for applications where you're around sharp objects and you're working with them. I've used these gloves for whittling, and whittlers know that it is very easy to nick a finger. I've also used them for sharpening a chainsaw. And if you know, when you sharpen your chainsaw, you'll often have to grab that chain and, you know, maybe not cut yourself, but scratch yourself pretty good. They're good for knife sharpening, working around saw blades, anything where you can cut your hands. Alright, so they're good for that. But regular leather gloves are also really protective. One thing I tend to do with these gloves is I'll often wear them as a base layer under an XL pair of gloves. So this is an XL glove, it's a little bit baggy, and I will wear this as a liner, and that is just added protection. You can grab a sharp knife with a pair of leather gloves. But if you start to slice, and I'm not going to do this too hard because I don't want to wreck my glove, but if you start to slice with a leather glove, you'll start to see some cuts. And this is a rather new pair of cowhide gloves. But if you slice on leather, obviously you're just going to cut it. So it's a different level of protection, but leather gloves, they offer a lot of protection. You can definitely grasp a knife, and here I'm squeezing pretty good, and no, I'm not cut. But if you do penetrate a pair of leather gloves, having these as a liner is really, really nice. Alright, let me show you the truth about these gloves and how cut resistant they really are. Alright, so I've got a couple cutting tools set up. I just chose 5 different cutting tools here. And I've got a pair of these gloves, which I'm actually willing to sacrifice. These are an XL and they just don't quite fit me right. I've got a hatchet here, which is relatively sharp. I recently sharpened this guy, and it's got a pretty good edge on it. I also have a short picaroon, which I sometimes use around the shop, and it has a nice point on it. I've got a utility knife, box cutter with a brand new razor blade. This is one of my pocket knives with a serrated blade on it, and it's actually pretty sharp. This is a Columbia River knife, and this is a hook knife, which I've used for carpet work and actually roofing and all kinds of things. And this has an okay blade on it as well. And this glove here, just because I don't want to cut my hands or penetrate my hands, this glove here is actually full of beans. I filled this up with beans, and this one is just straight up. The first thing to show you is that you can penetrate these gloves, no doubt about it. You can see I put a hole right in there, and beans are popping out. No doubt about it, you can penetrate these gloves with a sharp object. So they're not like chainmail in the sense that they're impenetrable. But as you can see, it takes some work to hack at these guys with a knife like this. Here's a razor blade, right? This is my box cutter, and I'll come over here to the finger, and alright, so is it a cut-proof glove? I'd say obviously not a cut-proof glove, because with some force you can cut through these guys. If I put this on and I gently cut at my hand, I'm going to be okay. But if I actually nick it, like a real nick, I can cut that right open. Similarly, with some force, and here we're going back to Pulp Fiction, with some force you can do some damage. Alright, so is it a cut-proof glove? No, the truth about cut-proof gloves is that the mafia can still come, take your fingers. They're not totally cut-proof. All right, they're not going to totally protect you. This is not chainmail. They will, however, you know, they'll offer some degree of protection, no doubt about it. But even with this, I can feel those little points coming in. And if I go to really cut here, I'm going to do some damage. Okay, so I think many of the demonstrations with cut-proof gloves, they show people cutting, you know, gently on their hand, and yeah, they're doing pretty good. But if you apply some force, no doubt about it, you can cut these gloves. All right, so having seen me take the fingers off this so-called cut-proof glove and slice into it, does that mean that I think these are completely useless? Absolutely not. I still use these as a layer of protection, particularly under my leather gloves. I think that is really the way to go with these guys. It's also warm in the wintertime. I do not want to grab this knife with my bare hand, but with the glove, I've got a level of protection. 100% protection from cutting objects, sharp objects, my chainsaw blade, forget about it, no. But a good level of protection that is better than the basic human hand. So if you like this video, found it useful, please click the thumbs up down below and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in content of this kind.